Side hustles are sort of almost the norm now. I mean, I
Yeah.
hear about them regularly. Why do you think everyone is latching on to a side hustle?
Employers are going to do what's best for the company, not necessarily what's best for the employee.
Do you have a great idea for a side hustle, or maybe you just want to make extra money doing something you care about? Well, we talked to Jill Morenz today. She runs workshops called Side Hustle Without a Hustle. She basically helps people clarify their ideas so they can execute them and have the most success. Jill, side hustle without a hustle. I love it. Tell me, what is that all about? Where did that concept come? Because I'm sure that's integrated in your workshops.
It is. So I have had two side hustles in my life. My background is actually in interior design. So I did interior design full-time for a little while and then transitioned to a side hustle for about 15 years. And then I wound that one up and started a new one.
So I have to know, what were your side hustles?
So interior design was one. And then the second one was I helped people do their email newsletters and website copy.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's kind
creative.
of a marketing
Both
thing.
are very creative.
Yeah.
And you run regular workshops, correct?
We do, yeah.
Do you have to know your idea to come
No.
to get the most out of the workshop?
We talk about how to figure out how to come up with an idea. A lot of times people take a piece of what they do for their day job and turn that into a side hustle. So I was doing email marketing for some of the things that I did in my day job, and then I took that piece and made it into a side hustle. And so there's a couple of dangers there. One, burnout, because if you're doing the same thing all day long and all night, that gets old. And then the other piece is just making sure that your boss is okay with that. Think about, what do people always ask you for or ask you to do for them? So are they always saying like, hey, I'm having a potluck, would you bring your, those famous brownies that everybody loves? And then you might think, oh, maybe I could make some brownies and, make that be a business. Now, especially that I'm working with entrepreneurs every day, there's a lot that goes into starting a business, even a side hustle. But as people with entrepreneurial mindsets, they are all over the place, right? We have hundreds of ideas all the time, every minute. And so what I wanted to do was just clarify, like kind of boil the whole process down so our process is 7 days. They don't have to be actual days. It could be like 7 weeks or whatever, but 7 sets of decisions and actions that you do. And then by the end, you have your business. And it's not just the Googleable parts, like how do I start a business in Ohio? It's what problem am I solving? And who am I solving it for? And that sort of thing. And it all, the clarity helps people focus just on the things that they need to do and kind of set aside all the other shiny objects that might get in the way of them either overthinking it or just never doing it.
Yeah, because sometimes we get too overwhelmed and we just walk away.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Especially someone with an entrepreneurial mind, like you said, that has 9 million ideas.
Yeah, so in that case, it's a way of sort of helping to vet the ideas in their mind. Okay, is this one work? Am I really interested in this? Because even if it's a side hustle, you still have to spend a lot of time on it. And if it's not something you're really interested in, maybe there's a better idea that you would be really interested in.
Side hustles are sort of almost the norm now. I mean, I
Yeah.
hear about them regularly. Why do you think that is? Why are they so popular? Why do you think everyone is latching on to a side hustle?
Part of it, I think, is just this sort of American dream of having some control over your own destiny. We saw during the pandemic, and that it didn't just start in 2020. It's happening for a long time now, where employers are going to do what's best for the company, not necessarily what's best for the employees. And so you have some uncertainty there if you're entirely dependent on a W-2 employer. And so people starting something just so that they have something of their own to build, that they can rely on in the way that, the harder they work, the better they do.
Yeah.
And I think also many people have made a decision to have a job that definitely pays the bills, but it might not be a particular area of interest or passion of theirs. And so I think side hustle is a great way to start something that may never turn into something full-time, but just something that you're interested, like, making art or jewelry or some, could be something creative. It could just be something that you love to talk about, like gardening or, baking.
What makes a successful side hustle? Is it the dollar amount? Like, what do you consider a successful one?
That's an excellent question. So we have a one-page business plan that's part of our process, and it's actually on our website, also downloadable. And a lot of people think a business plan has to be multiple pages and lots of robust spreadsheets. And certainly, if you're going for like a loan, it does. But we have boiled it down to a one page, and the final question is, what would you consider to be a success for your side hustle or for your business? And I think it really differs for each person. It's really, some people just want, a little extra spending money. Some people rely on it for paying some of their actual, regular bills. And some people want to build it into something that will eventually be full time. So I think that's one of the beauty parts about the side hustle is you can kind of make it whatever you want.
This is really about looking inward too, which can be scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
what do you actually like? What? Because then you run the danger of then hating your day job.
Yeah.
And you're like, I really just want to do this full time. But obviously can turn into a motivator to make it the full time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about you don't need the idea right away. Maybe you have an inclination, like you said, you just want to make a couple extra bucks or do something you're more passionate about. So what's the next step after that? You have this inclination, but then what?
So the way I always start is what problem are you solving? So, there's a saying, every business solves a problem. I use the example of shampoo. Okay, well, what need does shampoo solve? Dirty hair.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have dirty hair.
Greasy, dirty, disgusting hair. We all need to use it.
So, then of course there's many, many different kinds of shampoo. So like you and I could probably not use the same shampoo because this mess would not do that ever.
I wish I had that one, but yes, I get it.
So, the manufacturers of shampoo totally understand that. They understand what you and I both want out of our shampoo. And so they've created different kinds of shampoo for that. But top level, it's solving a problem of dirty hair, color treated hair with a tendency to frizz. Okay, so that's me. It also could be just something as simple as I need earrings to match my outfit tonight. It's a problem. It's not an earth-shattering problem, right? But it's a problem.
It's a consumer problem.
Yeah, it's a consumer problem. And so somebody who makes jewelry could then be solving that problem.
Okay, so I figure out what problem I'm solving. Do I have to make the business plan then?
No.
Or no, we're not. We're getting too ahead of ourselves. Okay, day five.
Day 5.
So what's the next step?
So then we figure out who has that problem, and those are your customers. Heirloom jewelry that you inherited from, a family member, and I'm turning it into something new and modern, but that uses a part of that heirloom jewelry, right? So this is clearly could be very heartfelt, meaningful piece that we're creating for you.
Yeah.
So that person is solving a problem of what do I do with this pin that my aunt left me that I will never wear as a pin? Well, so who has those? Who has that problem? Who has this jewelry that they have that they aren't wearing? Well, then you have to figure that out. Well, certainly women who have a certain amount of money, right? This is not the women who are struggling to pay their rent. This is the women who, have some money. They have an heirloom that's worth keeping that they haven't sold. And this is your ideal customer also.
Yeah, of course.
This is not to say that, there won't be a man buying this or something like that, but just your ideal customer. So the idea is you narrow it down until you get your ideal customer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to know your audience.
Yes.
And then do I make my business plan?
No, now we're on day 3.
Okay. So many things.
I know.
But this is exactly what you're talking about, really helping someone streamline all of the mess in our heads.
Right.
Okay.
The hustle part is focusing on the important things and letting all the rest of it go for later. But another part of it is testing. And so let's test this out. Let's see. I always say, try to look at your business as a scientist. Mm-hmm. So my hypothesis is that somebody would want this beautiful heirloom pin that they inherited made into something that they could wear nowadays.
Yeah.
And if I put that out there and nobody wants that, okay, there's my hypothesis has been disproven.
Okay.
So let's try it some other way, right? Maybe I melt it down, whatever. There's many, many other ways that you could pivot for that. But the idea is to test it, see what happens, and then move. And that's another beautiful thing about a side hustle instead of jumping right into a full-time business that you're starting, is if you've got everything riding on it, it's a lot harder to do that pivot. It's a lot harder to make those changes and adjustments. So then it's where do you find your audience?
Oh.
Right. So
does that mean like a pop-up? Like if you were to do it, like where you can get customers?
Yeah. So I call it the marketplace, right? So then you do have to decide on what your marketplace is, although that's day 6, but that's okay. We'll skip ahead.
Okay.
So, so your marketplace is, like you said, like a pop-up. Another piece of the side hustle without the hustle concept is how can you make it as simple as possible in the beginning?
Yeah, without spending too much overhead, right?
Yeah,
exactly. You don't have anything coming in to like.
Road.
Yeah. Okay.
I talked to a lovely woman one time who had this great idea for a like a mobile tea ceremony van. Right?
Okay.
So she would come to your event or to an event, and people would come into the her van, and they would have a beautiful Asian tea ceremony.
Ooh,
really cool idea.
I love tea.
Yeah.
I don't know what a tea ceremony is, but I'm sure it's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's like very formal,
Yeah.
and beautiful music and fabulous china and all that, right?
Okay.
So it's going to cost her quite a bit of money to buy this van and renovate it and buy all the fabulous china and all that.
Right. Fill it up with gas. The whole thing.
And drive it around.
Yeah.
Right.
Drive it around. The
Do
whole
the
thing.
wrap.
Insure it, etc., etc.
So we were talking about what would it look like if it were simple. And so there's a couple of ideas pop immediately to mind. Well, maybe she could offer to bring this tea ceremony idea to people's houses. Let's just try it. Let me come to your house. I'll bring the china and the tea, and we'll do it in your house and see what you think. She could have a booth at a farmer's market and have, try to just do this tea ceremonies there. It's not an exact replica of what her ultimate goal is, but it's testing that market.
Yeah.
Again, before you go into all that investment into something that may actually not happen. I'm sure we've all heard stories where somebody puts a lot of money into something and the testing part of it wasn't as robust as it should have been. And
right. You need your
nobody wanted it.
foundation,
Yeah.
as cliche as that sounds.
So true, though.
Do you need a lot of money to start your side hustle?
No.
Do you need any money?
So I do think you need some. I think, and it doesn't have to be very much, but...
What is not very much?
Yeah.
Like $100,
so
like $1,000?
So I love the book. Chris Gillibo wrote a book called The $100 Startup several years ago. And he has a great podcast called Side Hustle School. So that's definitely a recommended one for me. But if you're doing something that's like just like consulting, like if I were just to talk to you about your email marketing.
Like a service.
Yeah, service. That's probably really not going to require me to have any money, really. I would probably ideally like to have a business card and, maybe... But you could pay me on Venmo, and we would be fine.
Right. But if you're baking or making Kentucky Derby hats, you need the supplies.
Yeah, you need the supplies, and you need some sort of platform. So that marketplace we talked about could be my own website. It could just be a Facebook page. It could be a booth at a farmer's market, some kind of marketplace, and some of those have costs associated with them.
So how long do you have to wait till if you start a whole new Instagram page of your new product, it is like, sure, we all have friends, but it's going to take a second for word of mouth to happen or for people to even want your product. Because let's be honest, the market is infiltrated with side hustles and people selling something and everything everywhere. So when do you know it's a fail or a success, or is it just
to where you wrote what you wrote down?
So how
much
willing?
My business to be a success when I have 10 clients, let's say. So when you get your 10 clients, you can go, hey, I'm going to build on that, right? Let me get some referrals. Let me get some testimonials. Another great argument for starting as a side hustle instead of jumping right into full-time entrepreneurship, because you can have that sort of ramp up time. But I think a lot of it is consistency, as boring as that is, posting every day.
Yeah.
And focusing too. That's another thing that we talk about social media in Side Hustle Without the Hustle is choose one platform. So I know it's super easy to post both on Facebook and Instagram, but you don't get the same, you've got different audiences. The hashtags on one don't work on the other. The tagging on one doesn't work on the other. You really need to pick one.
Okay.
And then you're not, spread too thin between all these social platforms. Oh my gosh, I have to have stuff on TikTok and Instagram and all that, right? You choose one, and then you kind of lean into that one and let it grow. And you're right. I mean, sometimes it's slow growth.
What kind of people are you seeing wanting to start side hustles? Is it young people? Is it older people? Like, is it men? Is it women?
Everybody. So Avutra serves women entrepreneurs, but with our paid programs. But our free programs are for men and women. So the Side Hustle Without the Hustle is men and women, all ages. I have high school students, I have retirees, everybody in between.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And
so it's never too early or too late to start.
Right. Absolutely. One of the things that we talk about during the workshop typically is what do people think of when I say a side hustle? Do they think of, building their own business, like let's say the jewelry maker, or do they think of driving for Uber?
Right, because those are two completely different things.
But they're both probably considered
Side
hustles. There's an argument to be made, if you need money quickly, do the Uber, because you just turn it off and turn it on and you'll get paid that day. But then maybe even at the same time you get a side hustle to your side hustle, and then be building something else too while you're doing that to make the money while you ramp this up, and then you maybe can let that go.
Should we all have side hustles?
If you are fulfilled by your day, if you're fulfilled by your day job, do it.
Okay.
It is more relaxing to only have one job.
Yeah.
Currently I only have one job. It's kind of cool. I kind of like it. Yeah.
We love that for you, Jill.
Thank
we
you.
love that journey for you. How ironic. You're teaching the side hustle and you have the one job.
Yeah. So that is very ironic.
Okay, I'm dying to know. What are I want to hear what you think one of your most successful side hustles that you've seen happen and maybe mentored, I'm not sure, or maybe you just saw it in the world. And what's maybe one quirky one that you're like, I'm not sure about this, and then it was like wildly successful?
Yeah, so I've only been doing this for about a year. So I will say that I haven't had like the major, $1 million side hustles that I helped incubate, because that just hasn't happened. But
that's okay.
Some of the really interesting ideas and ones that are so simple. Like this one gentleman came through the side hustle workshop, and he was doing power washing. And he said, it's okay, like, I know that sounds dumb, but it's way harder than you think. I thought it was a great idea, and probably one of those ones that's actually really going to do well, because people don't want to do the research. They don't want to do the work if they can help it. If he's willing to do it and he does it well, oh my gosh, he's going to get tons of referrals. Another one of the recent ones is, this is a great idea. She does handwriting analysis, which is really fun. Like you write, in handwriting, and then she looks at the way you form your letters and the way they slant and whether your I's are, fully dotted or if they're dotted over here, all the details, and it tells all kinds of stuff about you.
Oh, like my personality or my stress levels?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so we were talking about how fun it would be to offer a service where you send in a handwriting sample of like somebody that you're interested in dating, like a significant other or something, and see what their handwriting tells
about
you
them?
about them. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Give me this girl's number. I need to know.
Wouldn't that be
She
great?
should be like on the side of a Bumble or Hinge app, so like just as an extra. Do you know what I mean? That's wild.
Yeah. So I think she could do really well with that.
Now you got me thinking. I'm like, oh my God, what does my handwriting say about me as a person?
That's why we type everything now.
Yeah, exactly. Just texting from now on. Okay, Jill, if somebody has this great idea, or they have no idea at all, they just hate their job and they want to start side hustling without the hustle, might I add.
Yes.
Where can they find you? Where can they get your services?
Yeah, so the workshop schedule, the calendar, we have a couple coming up, November 4th and November 6th, and then I try to do a couple a month. So if they just go to sidehustlewithoutthehustle.com, that takes them to our page that has the calendar there.
But tell me a little bit more about your company, because you guys do a variety of things.
We do, yeah. So Aviator Accelerators is our organization, and we're actually 13 years old. And we help, here, I'll give you my little elevator pitch.
Yeah, give me the elevator.
All right, here
You're
it is.
teaching the elevator pitch,
right.
so give me it.
Yes. So we offer resources, education, and connections to women entrepreneurs to start and grow their businesses faster and with more confidence.
I love it. This is why you run the workshop.
Yeah. And that's a piece of it, actually, is the elevator pitch plus
in
there. So it's like our little twist on the elevator pitch. So,
I saw one of the comments from the people. They were like, I learned how to say what I'm going to do in one sentence. I'm like, that is important, because people's attention spans.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, simplifying the idea.
Yeah, right. And that's another huge part of it. When you can boil it down, when you fill out day 5, when you fill out your one-page business plan, and again, that's at aviatra.org on the resources page. You can just download that. That it's basically, what are you going to sell? Who are you going to sell it to? Why should they care? How much are you going to charge? And what do you think is going to be a success? And then you take all those things and you just kind of, there's also a formula in the Side Hustle Without the Hustle workbook to put it in there that you could then now turns it into one sentence that makes sense.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, engaging.
Aviatra Accelerators here for you guys,
That's
honestly.
right.
Jill, thank you so much for your
for having
time.
me. It's been so
Valuable
fun.
information.
Thank you.
It's for all the side hustlers out
That's
there.
right.
Okay, thanks, Jill. It was
Thanks.
wonderful. Local 12 has more consumer stories just like this. Don't forget to click the links and press subscribe.